When the Galactic Council gave humanity 48 hours to surrender Earth or face total destruction, they expected fear. They expected begging. They expected negotiations. What they got instead was a single word transmitted across every channel in the galaxy. That one word would change everything. But before I tell you what it was, you need to understand what led to this moment. Because what humanity did next has never been seen in the 10,000-year history of the Council. The message arrived on a Tuesday morning. Not that the aliens knew what a Tuesday was. They didn't care about our calendars, our customs, or our feelings. The Galactic Council had made its decision, and now they were here to deliver it. Every screen on Earth lit up at the same time. Televisions in Tokyo, billboards in New York, cell phones in Mumbai. Even the old radio in my grandfather's barn in Montana crackled to life. The message was everywhere all at once. A face appeared. At least we thought it was a face. The creature had 6 eyes arranged in a circle around what might have been a mouth. Its skin shimmered like oil on water, shifting between purple and green. This was High Chancellor Vexnor of the Galactic Council, though we wouldn't learn his name until later. Humans of Earth. The voice was cold, translated instantly into every language on the planet. Your probation period has ended. The Galactic Council has reviewed your species. We have watched you for 50 of your years. We have studied your wars, your pollution, your violence. The verdict is final. My coffee cup stopped halfway to my lips. Around the world, billions of people froze. Earth is located in a strategic position within the Orion arm of your galaxy. The Council requires this planet for our expansion. You have 48 hours to evacuate your world. We are offering transport ships. You will be relocated to designated zones on 3 different planets. You will work. You will serve. You will survive if you comply. The alien's eyes all blinked at once. It was disturbing. Refusal is not an option. Resistance will result in complete planetary sterilization. We have done this before to 247 other species who failed to comply. You are not special. You are not unique. You are simply in our way. Then the screens went dark. For exactly 10 seconds the whole world was silent. Then everything exploded at once. Panic in the streets. Governments scrambling to hold emergency meetings. Religious leaders praying. Military commanders dusting off old defense plans that everyone knew were useless. You can't fight beings who could hijack every electronic device on the planet at the same time. But here's what the Council didn't understand about humans. We're really bad at doing what we're told. The United Nations building in New York became ground zero. Every nation sent representatives. For once in history, there were no arguments about borders or politics or whose fault anything was. The enemy wasn't each other anymore. It was out there in the stars, demanding our home. A young woman named Elena Vasquez stood at the podium. She wasn't a president or a prime minister. She was just a scientist who had been studying the Council's broadcast signal. She had discovered something. "They're bluffing," she said. The room erupted. People shouted. Someone threw a folder. Everyone thought the stress had finally broken her. "Listen to me." Elena slammed her hand on the podium. "I've analyzed every second of that transmission. When Vexnor mentioned the 247 species they destroyed, his bio readings spiked. Their technology might be advanced, but they're not gods. That was a lie meant to scare us." An old general from Russia stood up. "How can you possibly know that?" "Because I've been tracking their ships. We've had satellites watching them for 3 days. You know how many warships they have in orbit? 12, just 12. For a species that claims to control half the galaxy, that's not an invasion force. That's a scare tactic." "Maybe 12 ships is all they need," someone muttered. Elena shook her head. "Their energy readings are strong, yes. Each ship could probably destroy a major city, but the whole planet, they'd need hundreds, maybe thousands. They don't have that. This isn't about military might. This is about making us too afraid to fight back." The room went quiet again, but this time it was different. This time people were thinking. The Secretary General of the UN stepped forward. She was an older woman from Kenya, and her eyes had the look of someone who had seen too much suffering. "So what do we do? Even if they only have 12 ships, that's still 12 cities they can erase. 12 million people dead in seconds." "We call their bluff," Elena said simply. "That's insane. Maybe it's the only play we have. Think about it. They gave us 48 hours. Why? If they really could sterilize the planet, why not just do it? Why the ultimatum? Why the offer to relocate us? They need something from us. Information, labor, compliance, but they need us alive. A young man from India raised his hand. He was shaking. What if you're wrong? What if we refuse and they actually do it? My family is in Mumbai. 20 million people in one city. Eleanor looked at him. Really looked at him. If I'm wrong, then we die fighting for our home instead of living as slaves on someone else's world. And if I'm right, we send a message to every species in the galaxy. Earth is not for sale. The debate raged for 6 hours. The clock was ticking. 42 hours left. Finally, they took a vote. It wasn't unanimous. People were scared. That's okay. Being brave doesn't mean you're not afraid. It means you do the right thing, even when you are afraid. The result: Earth would send a response. They formed a committee to write it. Politicians wanted speeches. Lawyers wanted clauses and conditions. Philosophers wanted profound statements about human dignity. They argued and wrote and rewrote. They had drafts and subcommittees and focus groups. 23 hours later, they still didn't have anything. That's when Marcus Webb walked into the room. He was a former Marine, now a janitor at the UN building. He had been listening to them argue all night while he emptied trash cans. "You're overthinking this," Marcus said. Everyone turned to stare at this man in maintenance coveralls. "Excuse me?" the Secretary General said. Marcus shrugged. "They gave you an ultimatum. You don't need a speech. You need an answer, one word. That's all." "What word?" someone asked. Marcus smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile of someone who had seen combat and knew what it meant to stand your ground. He walked to the whiteboard and wrote one word in big letters. The room stared at it. Then slowly people started to nod, then smile, then laugh, not from joy, but from the sheer audacity of it. That word would change everything. With 25 hours remaining on the Council's deadline, Earth sent its response. One word, broadcasted on every frequency humans could generate. One word, transmitted toward the 12 ships in orbit and out into deep space for anyone listening. One word that took 3 seconds to say but carried the weight of 8 billion souls. No, that's it. That's what humanity said. Not "we decline," not "we refuse," not some long explanation or counteroffer. Just no. High Chancellor Vexnor received the transmission aboard his flagship. The Eternal Judgment. He had been in his meditation chamber, already planning the auction where he would sell Earth's resources to the highest bidder. The water alone would be worth a fortune. When his aide brought him the human response, he thought it was a joke. "What do you mean, no?" Vexnor's voice echoed through the ship. "Where is the rest of the message?" "That is the entire message, Chancellor. One word. They have broadcast it 47 times now on every channel. Just no." Vexnor's 6 eyes narrowed. In his 300 years serving the Council, he had delivered ultimatums to 63 different species. They all responded the same way. Panic, then negotiations, then eventual surrender. The pattern was reliable. It was predictable. This was not the pattern. "They're stalling," Vexnor decided, buying time to evacuate their leaders or hide their resources. "It doesn't matter. Prepare to send a second message. Show them footage of the Kelvar homeworld after they refused. Show them what happens to species who say no to the Council." But his military commander, a 4-armed warrior named Thex, hesitated. "Chancellor, I advise caution. Our intelligence teams have detected unusual activity on the planet's surface." "What kind of activity?" "They're not evacuating. They're mobilizing. Every military base is now active. They're moving weapons into position. Ancient weapons, yes, but there are millions of them. And the humans themselves are not fleeing to shelters. They're going outside, into the streets. They're gathering." Vexnor pulled up a visual feed of Earth. Thex was right. In every major city, people were flooding into public spaces. Not rioting, not looting, just standing together. In Times Square, millions held hands. In Beijing, they sang. In Cairo, they prayed. In São Paulo, they danced. It was bizarre. They were hours away from potential destruction, and they were having parties. "I don't understand," Vexnor muttered. "They should be terrified." His cultural advisor, a small floating creature named Pip, drifted closer. "Chancellor, I have been studying human history. I think we may have made an error in our assessment. Explain. Humans are strange. We assumed their violence and wars made them weak and divided. But I have discovered something. Humans are at their most dangerous when they are unified against a common threat. In their history, the more impossible the odds, the harder they fight. There is a word they use, defiance. It is almost sacred to them. Vexnor waved a dismissive appendage. Primitive courage. Emotional nonsense. It won't stop our weapons. Perhaps not, Pip agreed. But I found something else. Humans have a saying. We will not go quietly into the night. It is from one of their stories about invasion from space. For the first time, Vexnor felt something unfamiliar in his chest. A tiny seed of doubt. He shook it off. Send the second message. Show them the consequences. The screens of Earth lit up again. This time they showed images. A planet that looked similar to Earth, green and blue, full of life. Then the same planet from a different angle. Burned, dead, grey ash where oceans had been. The Kelvar homeworld, after they said no. The message was clear. This is what happens to species who refuse. Earth's response came back in minutes, still just one word. No. But this time, it was accompanied by something else. Images, thousands of them. Humans sent the Council a history lesson. Pictures of ancient warriors holding lines against impossible odds. Spartans at Thermopylae, the Alamo, Stalingrad, pictures of ordinary people standing up to tyranny. Tankman in Tiananmen Square, the Berlin Wall coming down. Pictures of disasters where humans ran toward danger, not away from it. Firefighters climbing into the Twin Towers. Doctors fighting epidemics. Parents shielding children. And words. Quotes from human history. Give me liberty, or give me death. We shall fight on the beaches, not one step back. They may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom. The final image was simple. Earth, as seen from space, beautiful and blue. And beneath it a message. This is our home. We were born here. We will die here if we must. But we will die free. You want this planet? Come and take it. But know this, we will make you pay for every inch. You will remember Earth. You will remember humanity. And you will regret ever coming here. On the flagship, silence. Commander Thex checked his tactical displays. Chancellor, the humans are doing something to their nuclear weapons. Old technology, yes, but they have thousands of them. If we attempt landing, they wouldn't, Vexnor interrupted. They wouldn't irradiate their own planet. That's suicide, Pip spoke quietly. I do not think humans see it as suicide, Chancellor. I think they see it as taking their enemy with them. There is another human saying, if I'm going down, I'm taking you with me. Vexnor stared at the planet below. The beautiful, defiant, impossible planet. His aide appeared again, looking nervous. Chancellor, we're receiving messages from the Council. They've seen Earth's broadcasts. The humans transmitted everything to the entire sector. Dozens of species are watching, waiting to see what we do. Some are calling the humans brave. They're calling them heroes. This was bad, very bad. The Council's power relied on fear, on the belief that resistance was futile. If other species saw humans successfully defy the Council, the entire power structure could collapse. Vexnor had a choice to make. Destroy Earth and prove the Council's power, but lose strategic position and resources, plus risk making humans into martyrs. Or open a channel, he said finally. Direct communication. I want to speak with their leaders. His officers looked shocked. The Council never negotiated. Never. But Vexnor was beginning to understand something. Humanity wasn't bluffing either. The communication request from the Council came through at 3:47 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time. 14 hours remained on the original ultimatum. The UN Secretary-General, whose name was Amara Okafor, took the call from a bunker beneath the headquarters. With her were representatives from every major nation, plus Elena Vasquez, the scientist who had first called the Council's bluff, and surprisingly, Marcus Webb, the janitor who had suggested the one-word response. No one quite knew how Marcus had become part of the inner circle, but no one questioned it either. Sometimes the right person is just in the right place. High Chancellor Vexnor's face appeared on the screen, all 6 eyes focused on the humans before him. I am prepared to discuss terms, Vexnor said. No greeting, no diplomacy, just business. Amara didn't blink. There are no terms to discuss. We said no. That answer hasn't changed. You are being irrational. You cannot win. Even if you damage some of our ships, we will destroy your civilization. Marcus leaned back in his chair. Then why are you calling? If you're so sure you'll win, why talk to us at all? Vexnor's eyes all blinked in that disturbing synchronized way. The Council wishes to avoid unnecessary destruction. We are prepared to offer a compromise. You may keep your planet. Instead, you will provide the Council with resources, mining rights, water, a percentage of your food production, and you will swear loyalty to the Council. You will serve. The room was quiet. On the surface, it sounded reasonable. Keep Earth, just pay tribute. That's how empires worked, right? The strong demanded payment from the weak. Protection money dressed up in fancy words. Elena spoke up. What happens to species who serve the Council? We did research. 47 species are currently classified as service members. What are their conditions? Vexnor hesitated, just for a second. But these humans were watching carefully now. They live peacefully under Council protection. That's not what I asked. What are their conditions? Their rights? Their freedoms? They have appropriate freedoms for their status. A woman from China, Minister Chen, pulled up a document on her tablet. We intercepted some of your communications. Sloppy encryption, by the way. According to your own records, the Thulari species serves the Council. Their population has dropped by 60% in 50 years. The Nexians serve the Council. They're not allowed to leave their home system. The Vryn serve the Council. They've been classified as a labor species. Slaves in our language. Vexnor's skin shifted to a darker purple. Anger, they guessed. You do not understand the complexities of galactic governance. We understand just fine, Marcus said. You're offering us a choice between being dead or being slaves. That's not a choice. That's not a compromise. That's just tyranny with extra steps. You are in no position to... Actually, we are. Amara stood up. Because here's what you haven't figured out yet. You need this to go peacefully. You need us to surrender. Because if you attack and we fight back, even if you win, you lose. Ridiculous. How do we lose if we destroy you? Elena jumped in. Because we've already won the information war. Our broadcasts reached 47 different systems. The entire galactic sector is watching. If you destroy us, we become martyrs. Other species will start to wonder, if humans could say no, why can't we? Your entire empire is built on fear. But fear only works if nobody ever fights back. She paused, then delivered the killing blow. And if you think we're bluffing about taking you with us, you're wrong. We've already armed every major city with old nuclear weapons, dirty bombs, chemical weapons, biological agents. If your ships enter our atmosphere, we'll release everything. You'll win, sure. But the planet you wanted? It'll be poisoned for 1,000 years. Worthless. And you'll have to explain to the Council why you lost 12 ships and gained nothing but radioactive dirt. Vexnor's eyes widened. All 6 of them. You would truly destroy yourselves out of spite? Marcus laughed. It was a dark sound. Oh, it's not spite. It's principle. See, that's what you don't get about humans. We're crazy. We'll absolutely burn our own house down if it means the robber doesn't get to live in it. A general from the United States, a gray-haired woman named Rodriguez, leaned forward. Let me explain this in terms you might understand, Chancellor. We ran the numbers. If we surrender, humanity survives maybe 100 years as a species before you work us to death. If we fight and lose, we die quickly. But we die free, and we take your fleet with us, which might give the next species you threaten a better chance. So yeah, Marcus added, we choose death, but we're taking you with us. Vexnor stared at them. His mind was racing. These humans were serious, completely serious. They would rather die than submit. In his 300 years, he had never encountered anything like this. I need to consult with the Council, he said finally. We will respond in 6 hours. You have 3, Amara said firmly. After that, we start moving our weapons into launch position, not because we want to use them, but because we want you to know we will. The screen went dark. For a moment, nobody moved. Then someone started clapping, then another. Soon the whole room was applauding. They had just bluffed the devil himself, but Elena wasn't celebrating. We bought time. But what if they call our bluff? What if they just attack? Marcus shrugged. Then we do exactly what we said, we fight. And yeah, we'll probably die, but at least we'll die standing up. Amara looked at the young scientist. Elena, do you think your calculations were right? Do they really only have the firepower to destroy cities, not the whole planet? I think so. But I could be wrong. And if I'm wrong, then 8 billion people die. Someone finished. The room went quiet. Outside, dawn was breaking over New York. Through the bunker's camera feeds, they could see people gathering in the streets again, not panicking, not fleeing, just being together. Families, friends, strangers holding hands. A young man in the control room spoke up. My sister is out there. She's 8. She sent me a message an hour ago. Want to know what it said? Everyone turned to look at him. She said, I'm scared, but I'm proud to be human. 8 years old, and she gets it. She understands what we're doing. Amara felt tears in her eyes, but pushed them back. Then we better make sure we don't let her down. The wait began. 3 hours. Possibly the last 3 hours of human civilization. But humans are good at waiting. We've been waiting for justice, for peace, for our moment to matter for thousands of years. What's 3 more hours? 2 hours and 47 minutes later, something unexpected happened. A new ship appeared. It wasn't one of the Council's vessels. This one was smaller, faster, and broadcasting a signal that made every radio on Earth crackle with static. The 12 Council ships in orbit immediately moved to intercept it, forming a defensive wall, but the new ship didn't attack. It just stopped, hanging there in space between Earth and the Council fleet. We're receiving a transmission, the communications officer announced, but it's not from the Council. It's from the new ship, and they're asking to speak with humans. They want to talk to us, not the Council. Amara exchanged glances with Elena and Marcus. Put it through. A face appeared on screen. At least they thought it was a face. This alien looked like a cross between a squid and a tree, with bark-like skin and multiple tentacles that seemed to shift and flow like water. 2 large eyes, remarkably human-like despite everything else, stared out at them. Humans of Earth. The creature spoke in perfect English. My name is Silnith. I represent the Korlani people. We wanted you to know you're not alone. The room fell silent. I don't understand, Amara said carefully. Who are the Korlani? We were once like you, free, independent. 300 years ago, the Council came to our world with the same ultimatum. We said yes. We surrendered. We thought we were being smart. We thought we were saving our people. Silnith's tentacles drooped. We were wrong. What happened to you? Eleanor asked softly. They took everything. First our resources, then our freedom, then our culture. They separated families, used our people for labor, turned our children into soldiers for their empire. Today there are 3 billion Korlani in the galaxy. Half of us have never seen our homeworld. We are scattered, broken, slaves in everything but name. Marcus leaned forward. Why are you telling us this? Because when we heard what you said, that one word, no, something woke up in us. Something we thought we had lost forever. Hope. Silnith's eyes seemed to shine. You are doing what we should have done. You are fighting. And I needed you to know that there are others watching. Others who wish they had your courage. A new voice crackled over the comms. Vexnor angry. Silnith of Korlan, you are in violation of Council space. Return to your designated zone immediately or face consequences. I am already facing consequences, Chancellor. Silnith replied calmly. I have been facing them for 300 years. What more can you do to me? We can destroy your ship. We can revoke your family's living permits. My family is already dead, Chancellor. They died in your work camps. So yes, destroy my ship. But know this. I sent everything I just told the humans to 47 other systems. They all know now. They all know what service to the Council really means. There was a long pause. Then Vexnor's voice came back, colder than before. You have made a grave mistake, perhaps, but I will die making it, and that is more than I have lived for in a very long time. Before anyone could respond, the Council ships opened fire. A single blast and Silnith's ship exploded in a flash of light. Just like that, gone. The humans watching from Earth gasped. Some cried. They had just witnessed a murder, an execution, and Silnith had known it was coming. Had chosen it anyway. That was a warning. Vexnor's voice came through. That is what happens to those who defy the Council. Sylnith was weak, emotional. You humans are being emotional as well. You need to think logically. But something had changed. The mood in the bunker shifted from determination to fury. Sylneth's sacrifice hadn't scared them. It had ignited something. Amara stood up, her hands shaking with rage. You want to talk about logic, Chancellor? Here's some logic for you. You just proved everything we suspected. You're not peacekeepers. You're not protectors. You're tyrants. And you just showed the entire galaxy exactly what you are. I showed them what happens to rebels. No, Eleanor interrupted. You showed them what they're fighting for. Sylnith came here to die, yes, but they died sending a message. And we received it. So did everyone else watching, Marcus added. You know what the funny thing is? You probably could have won. If you just kept talking, kept negotiating, maybe you could have found some way to manipulate us. But you couldn't help yourself. You had to remind everyone that you rule through fear and violence. And now, Amara's voice was steel. Now, we're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting for Sylnith, for the Korlani, for every species you've crushed under your boot for thousands of years. You wanted to make an example? Congratulations. You made us an example too. Warning lights suddenly flashed in the bunker. The tactical officer shouted, "The Council ships are powering weapons! They're preparing to fire." This was it, the moment of truth. They had less than a minute. Amara looked at her team. Well, do we blink? Eleanor checked her calculations one last time. I still think they can't destroy the whole planet. But they can destroy a lot of it. Millions will die. Billions will die as slaves if we surrender, Rodriguez countered. Marcus stood up. I vote we stick. We said no. We meant it. One by one, representatives from every nation nodded. Some were crying. Some were praying. But all were agreed. Amara turned to the communications officer. Send them our response. What response, ma'am? The same one. Just one word, the officer nodded and typed. The message went out. No. But this time something else happened. Something that would be talked about for generations. Other ships started appearing. Small ones, personal vessels, cargo ships. They weren't warships. They weren't coming to fight. They were coming to watch. Species from across the sector, defying the Council's orders, risking everything just to witness what happened next. Some were broadcasting. Some were recording. All were watching to see if humanity would really do it. If they would really stand against the Council. Vexnor saw his plan falling apart. If he destroyed Earth now with all these witnesses, it wouldn't just be murder. It would be the spark that ignited rebellion across the galaxy. But if he backed down, the Council's power was over. He was trapped. And the humans had known it all along. The standoff lasted 17 minutes. 17 minutes where the entire galactic sector held its breath. 17 minutes where Council ships kept their weapons charged, pointed at Earth. 17 minutes where humanity stood firm, ready to die rather than kneel. Then a new transmission came through. Not from Vexnor, from someone much more important. The screen filled with a face that made even Vexnor's officers straighten up. This was High Arbiter Caldron, the supreme leader of the Galactic Council. Ancient, powerful, and according to rumors, completely ruthless. Caldron looked like living stone, with crystalline formations growing from their head like a crown. Their eyes glowed with an inner light that seemed to pierce through the screen. Humans of Earth? Caldron's voice was surprisingly soft, almost gentle. I have been watching your interaction with Chancellor Vexnor. It has been enlightening. Amara stepped forward. Are you here to deliver the same threats? Because our answer hasn't changed. I believe you. That is why I am calling. Caldron shifted, and the light within them seemed to pulse. I am not here to threaten you. I am here to offer something different. The truth. Everyone leaned closer. The Galactic Council has ruled for 10,000 years. We have brought order to chaos, peace to warring species, structure to the void. But we have done this through control, through fear, through making examples of those who resist. Caldron paused. Chancellor Vexnor was following protocols that I established, the protocols that have always worked. Until now, Marcus said. Until now, Caldron agreed. You see, humans, the Council's power is based on a simple principle. Most species will choose survival over freedom. Most will surrender, if the alternative is death. It has been reliable for millennia. But you're different. You chose death, and in doing so you broke something fundamental in our system. Elena spoke up. You're saying your entire empire is built on a lie? That you can't actually destroy every species that resists? No, we can destroy them. We have the power. But power without legitimacy is tyranny, and tyranny cannot survive in the light. Caldrin gestured to something off-screen. There are currently 247 ships from 63 different species in this sector, all watching, all broadcasting to their homeworlds. They have seen you stand against us. They have seen Sylnath's sacrifice. They have seen that resistance is possible. So what happens now? Amara asked. That depends on you. The Council could destroy Earth. We have the firepower. But if we do, we lose everything else. Every subject species will see us for what we are. Rebellion will spread. The Council will fall eventually, or, Rodriguez prompted. Or we could acknowledge that you have earned something that no other species has earned in 10,000 years. The right to remain free, the room erupted. People shouted questions. Some thought it was a trick. Others were crying with relief. Caldrin held up a hand for silence. But understand this. If we grant Earth its freedom, we cannot keep the other species enslaved. The contradiction would be too obvious. You are not just negotiating for yourselves. You are negotiating for every species under Council rule. That's what we want, Amara said firmly. Freedom for everyone. Are you prepared for what that means? The Council has kept peace in this sector. Without us, there will be war. Species have old grudges, border disputes, resource conflicts. We have suppressed all of that with our authority. Remove that authority and chaos will follow. Marcus smiled. Yeah, it's called freedom. It's messy. People make mistakes. Nations fight and then make peace. It's not pretty, but it's real. It's living, not just existing. Vexnor's voice cut in, angry and desperate. Arbiter, we cannot simply surrender to these primitives. The Council's reputation is already damaged, Vexnor. These primitives outmaneuvered you at every turn. They understood something you did not. Sometimes the willingness to die is the greatest power of all. Caldrin's eyes dimmed slightly. I am old. I have ruled for 800 years. I have made the Council strong, yes, but I've also made it brittle, rigid. These humans are showing us that we have become what we once fought against. So this is it? Elena asked. Earth is free. Not just Earth. I am proposing the dissolution of the Council's enforcement arm. Species may join a new federation, one built on cooperation rather than coercion. Those who wish to remain independent may do so. There will be chaos, yes. Some species will fail. Others will thrive. That is the nature of freedom. Why? Amara asked. Why give up everything you've built? Caldrin was quiet for a moment. Because I have been thinking about what comes next. For 10,000 years the Council has maintained order. But we have not grown. We have not evolved. We have simply persisted. You humans, in your brief existence, have shown more innovation, more creativity, more sheer audacity than the Council has shown in millennia. Perhaps it is time for something new. Perhaps it is time to see what the galaxy can become when species are free to choose their own paths. The transmission ended, just like that. No formal ceremony, no signing of treaties, just a simple acknowledgement humanity had won. The bunker erupted in celebration. People hugged. Some collapsed in relief. Others just stood there, stunned that they were still alive. Outside, across Earth, the news spread. Humanity had faced annihilation and said no, and the galaxy had listened. The Council's ships began to withdraw. Slowly, one by one, they disappeared into the black. Only one small ship remained, another Corlani vessel. A message came through. This is Vessel Sylnath Memorial. We are survivors, named in honor of the one who gave their life for freedom. We wanted to say thank you. Because of you, because of your courage, the camps are opening. Families are being reunited. We are going home. Amara wiped her eyes. Tell them Sylnath didn't die in vain. Tell them we'll never forget. Marcus stood by the window, looking up at the sky where the alien ships had been. You know what's crazy? We almost died. We came this close to being wiped out, and the only reason we survived was because we refused to be afraid. No, Elena corrected him gently. We survived because we were afraid, but we did it anyway. That's what courage really is. Earth had changed, not physically. The cities still stood. The ocean still rolled. The sun still rose every morning. But something fundamental had shifted in humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. We weren't alone. We weren't the most advanced. We weren't the strongest. But we had proven we were the bravest. The Galactic Council didn't dissolve overnight. Structures that old don't just disappear. But it transformed. The Galactic Federation replaced it. A voluntary alliance where species worked together as equals. Some of the old council members joined. Others went their own way. There were conflicts, yes. Border disputes, trade disagreements. But they were solved through negotiation, not threats. Earth became something unexpected. A symbol. Other species called humans the defiant ones. Young aliens studied our history, amazed by our wars and our peace, our cruelty and our compassion, our ability to be both terribly destructive and incredibly brave. Tourism became Earth's biggest industry overnight. Aliens wanted to see the planet that said no to the Council. They wanted to walk the streets where humans had gathered to face death together. They wanted to taste our food, hear our music, understand what made us so different. The UN building became a memorial. Inside, on the main wall, they mounted a simple plaque. It listed every person who had been part of that fateful decision. Amara's name was there. Eleanor's, Marcus's, all of them. But below the names was the message, the one word that changed everything. No. And beneath it, an explanation in 100 languages for the aliens who came to understand. On this day, humanity chose freedom over survival. We chose dignity over safety. We chose to stand rather than kneel, not because we were fearless, but because some things are worth dying for. This word is our gift to the galaxy, the knowledge that tyranny only has the power we give it. And sometimes all it takes to defeat it is the courage to refuse. Marcus Webb still worked as a janitor. He had been offered positions in government, military consulting, even celebrity endorsements. He turned them all down. "I'm not a hero," he told reporters. "I just said what needed to be said." Anyone could have done it, but everyone knew better. Sometimes the right person in the right moment says the right thing. That's not luck. That's destiny. He still cleaned the UN building every night. But now, when he passed that plaque, he would stop and remember. Remember Silnith, who died for a glimpse of freedom. Remember the billions of humans who stood together. Remember the moment when humanity looked at impossible odds and said, no. Elena Vasquez became the Earth's first ambassador to the Galactic Federation. Her scientific mind and her courage during the crisis made her perfect for the role. She spent her time traveling between worlds, building bridges, making friends. But she never forgot what she learned that day. Sometimes the most important calculations aren't about numbers. They're about people, about what they'll fight for, about what they'll die for. She kept a small hologram on her desk. It showed Silnith, taken from the last transmission before their ship was destroyed. A reminder that freedom always costs something, and that sometimes it costs everything. Amara Okafor served 2 more terms as Secretary General of the UN. Then she retired to Kenya, to a small farm where she grew coffee and wrote books about diplomacy, courage, and the day the Earth stood still. She never claimed to be the hero of the story. She always said the real heroes were the 8 billion people who stood together, who chose the hard right over the easy wrong, who looked at annihilation and didn't blink. On her farm, she planted a tree, a strange tree with bark-like skin that seemed to shift and flow. A gift from the Korlani people, grown from seeds native to their homeworld. She called it the Silnith tree. Every morning she would sit beneath it and remember. High Arbiter Kaldrin stepped down from power 6 months after the standoff. They said they were tired, that they had seen enough, that it was time for a new generation to lead. But before they left, they did something unprecedented. They came to Earth, no weapons, no fleet. Just a single ship and a desire to see the planet that had changed everything. They met with Amara, Elena, and Marcus in a quiet garden in New York. The same garden where, 1 year before, humans had gathered to face death. "I wanted to thank you," Kaldrin said. "You saved the galaxy from itself. From us." "We just did what we had to do," Amara replied. "No, you did what no one else dared to do. You showed us that there is strength in freedom, not just in control." Cauldron's crystalline formations seemed to glow brighter. I have lived for 800 years. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have made decisions that affected trillions of lives. But I will be remembered for one thing. I was the arbiter who lost to humanity. And I am proud of that. Marcus laughed. You didn't lose. We just helped you remember what you were fighting for in the first place. Perhaps. But that is a lesson I should not have needed. Cauldron looked up at the sky. What will you do now, humans? You have your freedom. The galaxy is open to you. What path will you choose? Elena answered. We'll probably make mistakes, fight some wars, make some bad decisions, but we'll also explore, create, build. We'll be exactly what we've always been, complicated, messy, and free. Then the galaxy is in for an interesting future, Cauldron said. Because if there's one thing I learned about humans, it's that you never do anything halfway. The legacy. 20 years later, there was a new generation growing up on Earth, children who had never known the fear of the Council, who had grown up in a galaxy where species talked instead of threatened. They studied what happened in school. They learned about the ultimatum, about Silnith's sacrifice, about the one word that changed everything. But to them it was history, old stories, ancient news. That's how you know freedom has won, when what was once a desperate fight becomes just another chapter in a textbook. But there were still reminders, memorials, the Silnith tree in Kenya, now 20 feet tall, the plaque in the UN, and every year on the anniversary humans would gather. Not in fear, not in celebration, but in remembrance, because freedom isn't won once. It's won every day by every person who chooses to stand up, who chooses to say no to tyranny, to injustice, to fear. Somewhere in deep space, on a colony world where the Korlani people were rebuilding their culture, there was a school. And in that school, children learned about Earth. They learned about the brave humans who refused to surrender. They learned about Silnith, their hero who gave everything for a chance at freedom. They learned that sometimes the smallest act of defiance can shake an empire. And when those children grew up, they told their own children. And those children told theirs. And the story spread across the galaxy, changing and growing with each telling. The story of the day, one species looked at the most powerful empire in the galaxy and said, no. The story of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. The story of humanity's finest moment. Final message. If you're watching this story, remember, courage isn't about not being afraid. It's about being afraid and doing the right thing anyway. The Council thought humans were weak because we fight among ourselves. They didn't understand that our conflicts make us stronger. We learn, we grow, we change. They thought our emotions made us irrational. They didn't understand that our emotions give us something to fight for beyond just survival. They thought we would choose safety over freedom. They were wrong, because at the end of the day, humans aren't special because we're strong. We're not special because we're smart. We're not even special because we're brave. We're special because when faced with the choice between living on our knees or dying on our feet, we choose to stand. Every single time. That's not just humanity's story. That's the story of every person who ever faced tyranny and said no. Every person who ever stood up when it was easier to sit down. Every person who ever fought for what was right instead of what was easy. Silnith stood up. The humans stood up. And because they did, the galaxy changed. What will you stand up for? The end. They gave us 48 hours to surrender our world. We gave them one word that shattered an empire. That word was no, and the galaxy would never be the same.